All right, everybody, today we're running supervised full self-driving version 13.2.2. Have us rigged and set for a trip going to Piestewa Peak, I believe it's called. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I was there the other day and I figured it'd be a good task and a good test to see if full self-driving can handle going up those thinner roads up towards the hiking trails, and it's a good distance, so let's give it a try. It's always interesting to watch it deal with parking lots. Parking lots is definitely something it's still a little slow at, but I'm liking it. It's getting much better than it was. Version 13 is definitely quite different and quite far more advanced than some of the other versions here. Better stop looking at the screen. It's going to continue to complain to me that I'm not looking at it. So right up here, we're stopping because got a bit of traffic flowing this way. Interestingly though, if it would have went right away, it would have been able to make that before the traffic hit, but it decided to wait. Okay, I'm about to jump here onto the 60 West. It's going pretty well. Staying in the outer turn lane. It's always interesting to watch what FSD is doing in terms of its lane changes, because you just never really know exactly why it's getting in that lane versus going in the inner lane, going in the outer lane, because sometimes it goes in an outer lane and I'm not really understanding why it didn't go in the inner lane, and then before you know it, you realize that going in the inner lane was the actual better decision. So this road, this highway merging getting on here is pretty much a merge, so honestly it doesn't really matter which one it gets in, so I'm pretty sure that's why I just took the closest one, which the way we were coming from was going to be from the outside. So we're on the outer lane at the moment. Just having to wait for the light here, and then we'll be on our way. And then most of this trip up until the end is going to be mostly freeway driving, so it's going to kind of be a lot of that, but the amount of improvement that FSD has had over the course of my free trials I've gotten of it, from the beginning of it not being able to deal with the freeways or get in a lane change much easier. Now it's just, it really struggled, but now it's doing much better. I'm just constantly impressed. Literally, I'm already giving it the rating of chef's kiss, but it's still got more things to improve on. But for now, it's already almost feeling like that we're at the point where we can almost call it unsupervised. I would say that you probably could get to the point of being unsupervised if the car didn't continue to nag you to, keep your eyes on the road, which is fair. I find that to be fair at the moment, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just getting that good. It's getting that good, and it's crazy to me that people just don't really understand this yet. They just don't really get that. I'm at the point where I could tell people that my car drives itself, and they'll think that I didn't take my meds this morning or something like that. But I mean, here we are, and I'm sitting back, not doing anything, hands not on the wheel or whatnot and everything, and it's driving itself. It's pretty astonishing, truly, and people just don't understand. So, if I do Uber and I pick people up and show it to them, it's just a mind blown. Some people are more calm about it, that's for sure, but again, that's just their personality, and everyone's going to react to certain things differently. For me, this is really exciting. For me, this is awesome. For other people, it's not. It's just gonna. They're kind of just whatever about it, and that's fine. I wasn't really a car person, and then Tesla came around, and now my mind is a little bit changed on that, even though I'm still pretty sold on just Tesla cars, and every other car, unless if it's an older car that I see as being really vintage and having some history there. Unfortunately, I got to be that guy to look at every other car as being kind of obsolete at this point, because once this becomes a normal thing, I mean, who's really going to want to buy something else that just requires a lot of maintenance, requires you paying for gas, a bunch of headaches. And whereas this doesn't need a lot of maintenance, you're saving a lot of money on not having to pay for any gas, and overall a bunch of other things. It's just really good at this point. Look at you see me. I'm just going off talking right now because I just don't really have to do much. The car's just handling everything. Got off onto the 60, going up on the 101 North right now, and as much as there's not a lot going on, and it's pretty standard freeway, freeway kind of congestion and levels of traffic, it's handling everything like a champ. I just, at this point, I'm just kind of kicking back and talking to you guys and seeing overall the big picture here. It's, again, freeway, there's far less variables. There's much less variables than there is to driving on the city streets in the suburbs. There definitely is. So it's kind of had this down for a decent amount of time, but at the same time, I think it was 12.5.6 or 8 or something like that. It out of nowhere would just have a lot of struggles with getting into the, just being really hesitant to do a lane change. It was almost scared, and now all of a sudden it just got confident. It's almost like teaching a teenager to drive. They're just really timid and afraid at first, and then out of nowhere they get a couple successful lane changes under their belt, and they're like, okay, I could do this. It's so interesting, but again, because of the neural net that this runs on, it truly just, it learns, and it just gets better and better. And of course, as Tesla has done it, is the data collecting for this self-driving is coming from all of us humans, and we're the best people to teach it to drive, because of course we are. In order for this vehicle to be able to drive itself and function on the road with human beings, it's got to be so human-like. It's got to get to that point, and it really is getting there. I can't stress that enough. Once we hit 12.5.8, I think it was, or whatever the latest version that was before version 13.1.2, now we're on 0.2.2. I mean, all of a sudden it's like everything just clicked, and it gets it, and it knows what it needs to do. I'm just so baffled about when it's getting off onto an on-ramp to get off the freeway to take an exit. It just, regardless of how many cars might be in the way of the lane change to get to the exit, it gets it. It understands if it needs to go forward and put more power and accelerate to get around them, or to slow down and go behind them. It used to struggle with that immensely in my experience. Now it just handles it. I don't really need to do much. I mean, again, I've just been blabbering on this whole time because it just does everything. There's not much else to do. I almost, to a point, I can't get over it. You probably already got that. So now we're on the 202 west, and it just took that loop like a champ, and we're doing fine now. Just on our way and to the Piestewa Peak. I can't even say it right. It's going to be interesting when we get up there, because I don't know if there's traffic. I don't know what the congestion is up there. It's definitely going to be something. Sure is. But for now, with the freeways, it being New Year's Day, which Happy New Year to everybody. This is currently being filmed on that day. I'm hoping I can get it up by New Year's Day. If not, it'll come out some point in time after that. And yeah. So right now the roads are definitely quite barren. There's not really a lot of people on the road. So again, there's not too much going on freeway-wise, with the freeways being open. So it's just kind of cruising. That's kind of really it. So it's definitely interesting how things are going to advance with this. We recently just got a cyber cab at one of our Tesla showrooms here. I got to go see it a couple days ago. It's really cool. I mean, it's one thing, I know we've all probably seen it online, in photos or videos, on X or YouTube or whatnot, but it's really cool in person. It's not ridiculously huge, but it's designed so perfectly to accommodate what it needs to accommodate. And it's interesting too, because I think a lot of people kind of look at it and they wonder, why does it only have 2 seats and a bunch of other things like that. But truly, you probably might be able to see the sticker on my windshield, is that I am an Uber driver. So that's why, the cybercab and the full self-driving scene is becoming really, really intriguing and interesting to me, because I'm going to get that cybercab. I might get a fleet depending on how well it works, and it's going to be able to replace what I'm doing, and it'll do the work for me. I don't really need to even I don't have to do it anymore. And not to say I don't enjoy doing Uber. I meet a lot of people and learn a lot of interesting things and stuff, and obviously, like most of Uber drivers, have some interesting stories to tell. So it's really cool to be able to see the ride-sharing business kind of taking a big turn, and having the cybercab be able to take us into like the next era of the rideshare. And we have Waymo out here. Waymo is very present. They've actually been out here since I moved out here a couple of years ago, and they have been pretty interesting. They've been working. I've definitely seen them get stuck multiple times. Hopefully, I imagine with Tesla, it's going to be much better and not really have that issue, because Tesla's probably got another 1.5 to 2 years to refine this system until the cybercab makes its way out of there. But it's interesting that there's only 2 seats. I kind of got off topic. It's interesting that there's only 2 seats, because me being an Uber driver and doing it for the last 2.5 years, the big thing I can tell you is that the majority of the rides that I get, it's 1 to 2 people. It's very much more on the rare side that I get 3 or more people, since technically with me in the car only fits 4 more people. So, I think a lot of people kind of might look at it and be like, well, it's a little weird that it only has 2 seats. And it's like, no, it makes perfect sense that it has 2 seats, because I'm mostly getting only 1 to 2 people who are traveling, whether they're going to the airport and they have their luggage, and there's a massive big hatchback on the cybercab that is very kind of artfully hidden in there. And then when you see it open, you're like, oh, it's a hatchback trunk, and it can fit a lot of things. It's pretty big. I wouldn't say it's as good as the Wise hatchback in terms of height-wise, but it's kind of got an elongated back, so where it doesn't have a lot of height, it makes up for the length in terms of how many suitcases and things you could fit back there. Since being an Uber driver, I can tell you right off the bat that most people are going to use that hatchback in terms of putting their luggage in the back when they go to the airport, or maybe they're traveling between Airbnbs. That's actually another scenario where you have people kind of traveling with their luggage. I've literally picked people up from their Airbnb and took them 2 miles to a restaurant they want to go to before they leave to the airport, and that still requires them, because they checked out of their Airbnb, to put their luggage in the back. And it's like I'm taking them to the airport, but I'm not, and it was just like a 2 or 3 mile ride just so they can hit a restaurant before they head to the airport. So it's definitely going to really come in handy. The more I see it, and now seeing it in person, its design just is very much catered. It was definitely built from the ground up to fulfill what most people's needs are for rideshare, and I can't really stress that enough. And coming from somebody who works in that business, I'd be the one to be able to tell you. Trust me. I'm pretty sure some other people might have different opinions on that, and that's fine. But from my experience doing it for a couple years, the cybercab's going to be quite adequate, if not over adequate, for what it's going to be needing to do in terms of rideshare and moving people where they need to go. So that's definitely the case with it as well. And it's so interesting. I tell a lot of people all the time that, a lot of people are kind of almost not really much of a believer, in the sense that, we'll eventually get to what Elon says we are, where we're going to get rid of parking structures, and more of the world that we live in is going to be catered towards humans, because instead of parking structures and instead of parking lots and things like that need to holster cars for people who are traveling to like a stadium to go watch a football game, now all of that's going to change eventually, and it's going to turn into roundabouts or turn into drop-off areas, because you're just going to be dropped off, and there'll be more space for human things, more space for parks, more places to, go to eat, to go shop, versus, a lot of land being taken up by parking structures, parking lots. And there's a lot of crazy things that occur in parking lots from all the people moving there. I imagine with the cybercab and things like that, with it moving along, dropping people off, the parking lots will still be, they still could be a bit of a madhouse, so to speak, because you have, people getting out of the cars, people getting in the cars and whatnot. But truly, it's definitely going to be something. And I wholeheartedly believe that eventually that's where things are going to go, because it opens up the big thing that a lot of people aren't really talking about, is that if Tesla could offer a 60, 70, 80, maybe less, maybe more a month for unlimited rides from the Cybercab, who's going to buy a car anymore? Truly, who's going to buy a car anymore? If you just are being able to pay a certain amount of money a month for an unlimited robo-taxi subscription, and there'll be such a huge fleet of them out there, and then you have people just being like, okay, well, I can just pay for this, and I don't have to deal with car registration, no car insurance, no car maintenance, not paying for car fuel, whether that be gas or electric, no car payment. Most people finance their vehicles. Most people don't have the money to buy vehicles outright, so most people are having a car payment. Again, that's 5 major savings a year that I just named that people will have by being able to just pay a monthly fee to get unlimited Cybercab rides. And again, going back to the elongated kind of hatchback that it has, you can go do your grocery shopping, do your Costco runs, and there'll be plenty of room for how much stuff you get at Costco or any kind of grocery store, and you can fit it in the back of the elongated hatchback that the Cybercab has. So again, it's very much going to work, and as time goes on, I imagine they'll make a bigger version of the Cybercab for people who really want to do party, some kind of, multiple people, a party of 3, 4, 5 people or more. I know Tesla's got that big looking kind of bus thing for major transportation, and that's definitely going to play its part too. But I think eventually they'll make a little bit of a bigger Cybercab for certain particular needs, and then people will just pay more for that because you're just getting more space, more room for more people. But it's really interesting to think about, and a lot of people I've spoken to who I've gotten on the conversation, the topic of what I just went over, a lot of people don't really think about it until I pitch that to them, and they're like, wow, that's true. I mean, why would somebody want to buy a car anymore if you could just pay a monthly subscription and just get driven wherever you want to go? Now, it'll be interesting to see if they rig up certain vehicles for people who might want to, drive long distances, but I think that might not be in so much demand because obviously we have airports and planes, so you could easily just have to worry about your Cybercab travels, your robo-taxi travels, going to the airport and flying the long distances because it's obviously much faster. Human beings are really becoming more adapted to, convenience, and people are becoming more impatient. So it makes sense that obviously here in Arizona, if I wanted to fly to Florida, it'd be much faster if I flew to Florida than it would be if I were to drive there. So again, I think it's just part of the future is that more people won't take as many road trips. But it's, I could be wrong. They might have some certain vehicles that are good for long trips and people don't really have to worry about it. You can customize the trip. So it'll be interesting to see ultimately what long road trips will become when we get to a point where people aren't really buying cars anymore because they've all just subscribed to Tesla's, unlimited rides package, whatever that might be, whatever that monthly fee subscription might be or annual fee, however they're going to work it. I don't know. We haven't come to that conclusion yet. But that alone, to me, makes it almost ridiculous as to why people wouldn't invest in the stock. And I haven't even touched on the Optimus robot yet. that's even, in my opinion, going to be a bigger business venture than the Cybercab. That robot's going to replace all the mundane jobs. So, you know, that's even a bigger moneymaker right there, depending on how many businesses want to rent out, you know, Optimists to do their task. Amazon's already doing that. That's why people go on strike at Amazon and they don't care. It's just a matter of time. So we're doing pretty well here. It's kind of a bit of a yield. Now we can kind of get back into what the car is going to do, because now we're dealing with more factors versus kind of an open freeway that we just got off of. And it's pretty open for us right now, so the car's just going to make a lane change. We're just going to get right over in the left-hand lane and keep going. And we're about 1.3 miles away from the hiking trail that I routed it to. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it anymore because I probably already butchered the name a couple times in this video, so just going to leave it at that. Okay, we're going to be making a left here on Piestewa Peak Drive. Very good. Again, I'm just chilling. This thing's just doing everything that it needs to do. Now this is interesting because we had that car up ahead, that Honda Odyssey, and it took its time, so we weren't able to make it because the amount of traffic coming the opposite way that we would have had to avoid was definitely taking, you know, some time for us to be able to make it there safely. But because that Honda took its time, the car was able to, you know, understand that going and following closely behind it wouldn't have worked out very well. So we waited, we got the turn, and now we just went, which is much safer. And again, this is a good example of kind of what I tell everybody, because I get a lot of people who are like, you know, I don't really trust the car driving itself, and that's totally understandable. Right now, it's still pretty science fiction-y for people to kind of understand that it's working. And I give them the example of this, is that it's a very simple breakdown, and it's that human drivers run on emotion, and autonomy runs on logic. A human driver will tell you, or tell themselves that, oh, I'm going to run this yellow, almost turning red light because I'm late for work. That's the emotion of it. And then there's a higher chance of an accident because that person's basically almost running a light. Versus autonomy is going to say, I don't care that you're late for work. We're going to stop at this yellow light, turning red. We're going to stop, and we're not going to take that chance. So again, autonomy runs on logic and what's best and what's safe. Human drivers run on emotion. And as an Uber driver, I will tell you that is 100% the truth. And you don't even have to be an Uber driver to understand that. It's just logic that we all understand. It's just bluntly there, because human drivers will run lights, run stop signs, and just be in a rush because they're not focused on anything except getting to their destination, not what's safe, not what's right for the well-being of others. But autonomy will say, I don't care. I don't care that you are late for work or that you are running late getting to the airport. I don't care. We're going to get you there in the safe manner, whether you like it or not. And people are just going to have to deal with that. So as much as there's modes here for chill, standard, and hurry, again, the car will do its best under the hurry mode, but it's still going to do what's best for the safety of whatever driving maneuver it's supposed to do. And I think that ultimately is what plays into Tesla's part of their mission, even though they don't really go over this very much, but they do, but not as much as convert the world to sustainable transition, to sustainable energy, all that stuff. Their cars are some of the safest on the road. Well, most of their cars have a 5 out of 5 safety rating. Let's not even talk about the Cybertruck. You've seen some pretty bad accidents with that, but that's because the person was being pretty extreme, I imagine. And obviously, if you're in that truck, the other person's going to lose. So again, besides their vehicles being safe, just autonomy in general, from all the examples I just gave, is going to be ridiculously safe compared to human drivers. Because human drivers, especially today, there's just a very big lack of respect for others, I would say. Not as big as I guess the internet makes it out to be, but it's certainly there. And look at that. Just after I've made my point and we've gone over a good amount of things, it took me literally right up to one of the main areas here for this hiking trail. It totally was able to get around things. There was no problem whatsoever. And the vehicle is, you know, it sees pedestrians here to the side. They're obviously in their own world. They see that there's a car here, but it's not coming out as any kind of concern. And it's interesting what it's doing right now, because in some circumstances, if it's a very blunt address, it's going to park exactly where it needs to go and stop as if it was a cyber cab and it's time for you to get out and go about your life. And in this case, head to the hiking trail. Okay, so we pulled up here kind of in this little roundabout part of the parking lot. I mean, this isn't a terrible place to stop. It's not a far walk to where the entrance is that we kind of did pass. But again, it got me here. I would get out and go head to the hiking trail if I was just another customer using a cyber cab. That's truly what it is. Well, anyways, everybody, thank you for tuning in, especially if you waited to and watched to the end of this video. It really means a lot for you to be here and everything like that. Like and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe, or however you want to say it. But thank you, everybody, once again for being here and hearing me out and understanding my points that I was making. And obviously you could see I just was talking to you the whole time. I didn't have any worry. I didn't have any kind of, fear that the car was going to do something. It got me here in one piece, not a scratch on me or the car. So anyways, everybody, as always, I'm going to put my link to my referral code in case you are interested in buying a Tesla. At the current time of the recording of this video, you are able to get a max of $2,000 off using my referral code, depending on what trim you're buying, whether you're buying a Y or a Model S, a 3, or a Cybertruck, something, whichever trim. It all kind of varies. Or maybe it's $2,000 across the board. They're always kind of changing it. So that's always in the link in the description below, in case if you are interested in ordering a Tesla. Using my referral code gets you money off, and it gets me kind of a perk on the other side, and it's definitely a great way to support this channel. I would highly appreciate that. But till then, everybody, I will see you guys in the next one.